We are delighted today to have our old friend and former legislator, Susan Currie, here. She's been working at the public library for the past several months and is here to give us some updates and give us a chance to ask some questions. So thank you for being here, Susan. It's good to see you.
Thank you. I almost raised my hand to vote. Habit. Thank you for allowing me to be in the photo, the group photo. So yes, I've been at the library for 4 months and some days, and my appointment is for 6 months. So a lot has been happening. A lot of really good things have been happening, and I have a long report. I will try not to go on too long, but I love the library. It's a fantastic library, and I love talking about it. So we have been working really closely, first of all, with Finger Lakes Library System to reconnect with them and to get back onto procedures that are required of central libraries. We've had a lot of meetings with them. In fact, we had 3 training sessions with them for collection development, and I regularly attend the Finger Lakes Library System directors meeting, which is required. Also, one of the things is that we're the central library for 33 libraries in 5 counties, and that requires that the central library have some additional responsibilities, such as many libraries don't have an MLS librarian at night. We do at TCPL, so that librarian serves as the librarian for reference questions that other libraries might have where they don't have someone on duty, and she works until 8 p.m. We've also been working a lot on programming. There's always been a really robust children's programming there in youth services. They're amazing. Their youth services programs are incredible and heavily attended. But we've been working on more programming for adults. We had an incredible reading of the Constitution out in front of the library, which was really well covered on local news channels. And we have, I think a really interesting one is the CARS book club, where they choose a book. And I love there was a photo of them, and of course nobody's faces can be seen because recovery. So they're all facing art, and they had read a book about art. So the photo of them is from the back, looking at the art, holding the book up like this. It was a great photo. We've also increased the online presence with lots more live streaming and an emphasis on digital services so that people who can't actually make it to the building can access library services. So we've had more than 7,000 views on YouTube year to date, and that includes live stream events for authors like the Pulitzer Prize winner Jonathan Eig, and more recently Maya Zalovitz, as well as during Gay Pride Month, we had a huge program, and they also had a really interesting thing. It was a gender-affirming closet for adults, which was one of the most heavily attended things. We also have really increased collaborations with organizations, and that includes GIAC, County Office of the Aging, FoodNet, Meals on Wheels, RACR, the Ithaca City School District, Titus Towers, TC3, Head Start, Kendall, Lifelong, McGraw House, many more, History Center, the Learning Web. And we're going to be partnering with Family and Children's Services. We'll be available for story times during some of their hours. The circulation desk, which was a really hot topic last year, it reopened in July 2025, and we've had incredibly positive response to that. People are very happy about that. But there's also a really incredible thing at the Library of Things. Let's say if you need a specific kind of frying pan, you can come and check it out from the library. The newest thing to that is a charging locker, which is about yay tall from here. And let's say you come to the library and you forgot your phone charger. You can, it has a secure lock that you add you make the code that you put in, and you can charge your phone or your laptop. So let's see what else. We have 7 new trustees. Thank you to the committee who interviewed them and selected them. We have 2 more vacancies, so we're forming a board nominating committee, and at the end of this year, there will be more vacancies, so that nominating committee will continue. So the volunteer program was something that we heard about. It's changed. It's still a volunteer program. It's called Program Partners, and Program Partners are they volunteer with a specific department and get their training in that department. So it might be things like shelf reading, straightening the collection, helping with children's programming. My personal favorite is that we have someone who partners with us on a program called Sit, Stay, Read, which is where children they read to dogs. So we have, the SPCA brings the dogs, they're therapy dogs, and children can read to them, and that's very good for reluctant readers because it builds confidence. We also partnered with Challenge, who reached out because they had they asked us to host an intern who's working on an MLS, and that's working out very well. So she's working in youth services and in adult services and with other departments. So there's been a lot of increased usage in the library, more people in the library, more programming and attendance. We have expanded hours for the makerspace, and if you would like a tour of the makerspace, it's one of the best things in the world. Community members are incredibly creative and using the equipment, and one of the best examples is for a school science project, someone created a prosthetic hand that could be operated so that someone who, they had a whole mechanism for how it could be operated. That was really cool. Someone had old films, home school, like their, like the reel-to-reel films that you had of your
VHS.
Not even VHS. Oh. I mean reel-to-reel. Oh. That you used to have, and you'd see your home movies, and they lost part of the reel, so they came in and used the 3D printer to create the space. So it's interesting that new technology is being used to support old technology. A lot of things in the makerspace. So that's just some of the highlights. But on a daily basis, I like to walk around, talk to people. Patrons are very engaged. The other thing they have is a big puzzle table, and there's a puzzle that's finished about every other day. So they can't keep the puzzles out long enough, and people just do them like that. But we do have some challenges. Restoring positions. So I'll give you some numbers. In 2020, there were 42.61 FTE. In 2025, there are 35.6. So we do need some more positions to help order, process, and get the collections on the shelves. We also
could you just say that number one more time, those two numbers?
Yeah. In 2020, it was 42.61 FTE. Right now, it's 35.6.
Thank you.
And we also have to look at implementing the living wage, which would have a huge impact. It affects roughly 16 positions. On the lowest ring, the pages, which are the staff who shelve, the clerks who also help at the desk and with programming. We also don't know the impact of tariffs. Everybody is looking at that, and we don't know how that will impact purchasing. And libraries do a lot of purchasing, not just all the equipment and materials for programming, but also the collection itself. So we don't know how that will impact us. We're also having, in the midst of a search for a new director, and we want to set the new director up for success. We will ensure that there is a better onboarding process for the new director. And the board is very focused on that and feels that that would be a key element of helping the new director to succeed. One of the other challenges is public expectations. The library has been under a microscope for quite a while, and for staff that can make everything feel like a challenge. But we want to be what the community wants us to be. The other thing is the facility. We hear very often about the outside of the facility. We receive a lot of questions about it. But I want to add that we're deeply appreciative of facilities because they have a plan for renewal of the outside of the library. And Arel walked around the building with me and told me about it. I know that they are being pulled in many different directions. I also want to give a shout out to Arel and Dana Dexter and Mike Sigard, the county electrician. When we were looking to restore the circulation desk, they went above and beyond. So thank you for that. But to end on a positive note, I will say one of the things people tend to think of libraries as books and programs, but a library is one of the most efficient and amazing cooperative purchasing agreements that a community can have, because we purchase something and leverage it for thousands of people. So an example, there is a program that's held at the library every year, a volunteer income tax preparation services that's held at the library. And that was held this year. It's available to low-income residents of Tompkins and Cortland counties. It's completely free. There's a income threshold for that. And there are volunteer tax preparers. So the total number of families served for that were 666, which always, that number gets a little laughed, and like 666. The total refunds to people was $924,031. The total number of people served, 908. And the total tax returns filed, 1,338. But the total community impact, including the tax preparation fees saved, is $1,157,131. So one of the things that we are looking to do is have a library value calculator where if you check out a book, you get a receipt that tells you how much you saved by checking out a book. And with the library value calculator, we would be able to plug in our total use of rooms, computers, books, movies, whatever, and get an incredible amount of savings to the community. So every penny that the library receives is leveraged to serve actually 33 libraries in 5 counties, and that's over 310,000 people since we're the central library. So we're having an ice cream celebration on August 23rd. You're all invited. Hope that you'll come. And I don't know if you have any questions for me. This is a short summary. There's much more that I could tell you, but I ran this by the staff and they told me not to overwhelm you.
That was great. That was all great updates, and you answered some of the questions that I had. What kind of ice cream on August 23rd?
I think it's going to be a variety. I hope.
Sounds
like chocolate for me, but
sounds enticing.
I'm sure there'll be chocolate and vanilla.
Okay, questions or comments? Mike?
Nice report, Susan.
Thank you.
Earlier in the year, before you were there, I know there was some friction with Finger Lakes Library System. I wonder how things are going now.
They are going very, very well. We've had a lot of meetings with them. They came down and did 3 different training sessions for the librarians in terms of selection for the collection. And the director and I used to work together, and so we have a really good connection there. There's been that connection has been restored.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Rich?
And one of the board members for the TCPL is now on the Finger Lakes Library System Board.
It's going to be. Liz Chabot, who's currently the treasurer for the Board of Trustees, will be on the Finger Lakes Library System Board.
Yeah.
The Central Library really should have someone on that board. And
From
I think
TCPL,
yeah.
Yeah.
They hadn't had for a while, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you that things seem to be proceeding in the right way. And I would just add to all the information you provided, I attended a search committee meeting yesterday, and it's a good representative group. We have somebody from the Finger Lakes Library System, from the Friends of the Library, from the foundation, from staff. Susan is on it, and the board is represented, and I'm on as the liaison to the legislature. We have good candidates, and I was impressed with the number of people who applied for the position, and we're proceeding. So that's underway. I know there's a hard date. I think Susan is planning to be in Antarctica on October 1st. So.
You are?
Yes. No, not really. But I'm going to be retired.
She will not be where she is right now.
Yeah,
so we need to get our work done.
Yeah.
I was curious. I thought that the work on the exterior of the building was going to be done maybe the end of August, September. Do we have a date when they're going to get there? I know as you said, they're getting pulled in other directions.
Really are. And whenever there's something, they show right up. They come, I will say, every time I've been the director, and this is my third time, they have been phenomenal. They show up. At first they said mid to late summer, but then I think with a lot of the office moves, I think it might be later in the year.
Okay.
So
Okay.
not exactly sure when.
Yeah. It's ready for some work on the exterior.
We hear about it a lot.
Yeah.
We tell them facilities is, they're planning, they're just being pulled in many different directions.
Yeah, great. Greg?
Yeah, thanks, Susan, and good to see you again. I had a nice tour from Susan the other day. I was at a conference at the conference center and had a few minutes to burn and popped in the library unexpected and got a really robust tour. And it was neat to see a lot of these spaces and meet some of the staff and see all the different activated spaces, from the kid space, the teen space, the maker space. So it's always, I feel like every library conversation I've had as a legislator, I always learn something new that the library's doing. I personally love this tax prep program. I think it's incredible. It sounds like from the first report we got several years ago to now, it's really a robust program. And I think those are the type of things that low-income folks may sometimes have a barrier to access, and then it just puts people further behind because they may not know how to navigate, and then it just piles up and compounds. So the fact that we were able to help so many individuals and so many families is remarkable. I love your idea of a impact calculator, and trying to really track what that means for the community and the dollars that we spend. As it relates to the living wage, I know that this is a conversation that a lot of organizations are having right now because of the significant increase that we saw from the previous year. I'm hoping that your board is having this conversation, and if not, if they could, before we have a budget conversation with you, to just understand their position on things, their understanding. Does it necessarily have to be a jump for the living wage? Are there other benefit adjustments that can be made? Are there other things that can be done? What's the holistic approach to just the sort of general compensation value for individuals? I hope that that's something that we can hear more about and understand the impact on, and see if there's ways to either get there or other things that we could do if we're not able just to get there just yet, that could be supportive of individuals and making it more affordable and livable for them to work and live in Tompkins County.
The library has always been a certified living wage place of employment, so I would like to see it get back to that. This is going to be an agenda item on the next Finance and Personnel Committee meeting of the board.
Great, thank you.
So, we're looking at that. I just wanted to say one other program that the county historian, Carol Kamen, has organized us all into a series of programs based on the Constitution, where the first program is about the Bill of Rights. There's a program on voting. There's a program on citizenship, program on immigration. And she and Stephen Yale Lair, who's a Cornell law professor, have been setting up speakers for each one of those, and I think that will be a very popular program series.
Yeah, cool, great. I was gonna just also bring up the budget and just ask what your process is, and I assume you'll be the one giving us a budget presentation.
It is an interesting thing. The Finance and Personnel Committee needs to, that's one of the things that we'll talk about is starting to look at the budget process. I will say that our business manager, who has been there a year, was offered a very nice position elsewhere, and she has decided to take it. So we will be without a finance manager, after August 19th, I think, a business manager. So, and that's a concern to me, how we do that. But I have done budget presentations before, so I'm comfortable with that. If the budget presentation is after the end of September, if there's a new director, I volunteer to come and do that with the I think that would be a hard thing to do as a new director. I'd be willing to do that. So.
But I assume you have scheduled a meeting with Corsa and admin about
we
budget?
had our meeting on July 25th.
Great.
The board president, the board treasurer, our business manager, and I met.
Great.
Had a great meeting. Enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. And then the last thing I was just going to say thank you. Years ago, I've been on the COFA board, the Office for the Aging Board, Advisory Board for many years. And years ago, we had a representative from the library who would come to those meetings and just share. But then that didn't happen for a couple of years, and just this past month someone came and
We started that again.
yeah, it was great because the library is something that all people use and older folks use as well, so it's good to have that person back.
Yes, that is, I think that's really important. And we also partner with Lifelong and Kendall. So, yeah, I mean, you name it, we partner with them.
Excellent. Well, unless there's more questions, Rich.
Yeah, just a difficult topic. We are heading towards what looks like a very difficult budget year. But I do note that last year, the library got some special treatment, and not in a very positive way, in our budget process. I think that there's an argument to be made that we need to be very cognizant of the library's needs this year because of what we did last year.
Yeah.
So we'll have to have a lot of conversation about that.
Yes, there was a across the board 5% cut. There was an additional $20,000, and the library paid for its audit, all of which was a significant hit on the budget.
Yeah, definitely important conversations.
Thank you,
to have.
Rich, thank you for bringing that up.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming. It's lovely to see you. We miss having you here on our committee, though.
I miss it too, and I thank you so much for all the work that you do. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I know you're going to talk about assessment.
We're going to talk about assessment. You're welcome
I'd love
to stay.
hear about, so I have to get back. But thank you very much for the invitation, and I appreciate all the work that you do. And I know personally how hard you work, so thank you very much.
Great. Well, hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, come to the library.
Yeah, definitely.